Hey everyone, welcome to the library. I'm really glad that you got to come by today. Normally, our library looks a little bit different. We're all in the same room, we're in a space filled with books, and you sit down on a little carpet and listen to me tell you a story. And then you get some time to look at books for yourself. Obviously, today isn't going to be exactly like that, but we're doing the best we can to have something that kind of feels a little bit like that. I'm still in a room that's filled with books. These are books of my own, but I've also brought books from the school library to read to you, and I'm really excited to do that. But that's not the only thing that I brought from school. I also brought some stuff from the library to put up here on display. You can see there's my pet T-Rex right over there. You can see the pet T-Rex there. And over here, we've got baby Yoda. Both of those are always in my classroom. So now they're here while we're having library together. Now again, this is a different kind of season for us. We love being in the school so that we can have library in there, but we're doing the best we can here. And sometimes it can feel like things can't get any worse. Which brings me to the book that we're reading today. Today's book is called It Couldn't Be Worse. I found this in our library at school and I thought this is the perfect book for us to read right now. Now just by looking at the cover, you can see some of the things that are going to be in the book. We can see some farm animals. We've got some chickens over there. We've got a pig there. We've got, I think that's a goat right there. And we have a house as well. So let's see what of those things pops up later on in the story. Let's get together and read it. The tiny house had just one room. A poor farmer, his wife, their 6 children, and the grandparents lived there. They quarreled and fought and got in each other's way. One day, the farmer's wife went to buy fish at the market. The old fishmonger politely asked about her family. She told him of their unhappy situation, the noise, the quarreling, the fighting. It couldn't be worse. The old fishmonger asked if they had any animals, which she told him that they had. They had a goat, a sheep, a pig, a rooster, some chickens, and a cow. He advised her to take the goat into the house, then things would get better. The woman was dumbfounded by this strange advice. Take that unruly goat into the tiny house? But hadn't the fishmonger sailed the 7 seas and from all his adventures gathered wisdom in such matters? He was such a wise man. The woman returned home. When she told her husband what the fishmonger had said, he shook his head in disbelief. But it was decided that they would follow his advice. He was such a wise man, so they untied their goat and hustled him into their house. The very next day, the poor woman returned to the fishmonger. She told him that things couldn't be worse. There's the goat taking a bath in the living room. Very nice. The fishmonger smiled and told her to take their sheep into the house. Then things would get better. As the woman and her husband pushed and pulled and finally got the sheep into the house, they could only agree that the fishmonger was such a wise man. The next day, the frustrated woman hurried back to the fishmonger. She told him that things couldn't be worse. Now we've got the sheep and the goat. They are playing with the kitchen utensils. The fishmonger nodded wisely and told her to take their pig into the house. Then things would get better. The woman was soon home, and she and her husband prodded and nudged the pig into the house. The family all agreed that the fishmonger must be such a wise man. The next day, the frustrated woman was back at the fishmonger's stall. She told him that things could not be worse. The pig is over the fireplace, the goat is juggling or something, and the sheep is knitting in the house. The fishmonger suggested they take the rooster and the chickens into the house. Then things would get better. Back home, the woman and her husband hurried and scurried the chickens into the house. They could only follow the advice of someone who was such a wise man. The next day, the agitated woman arrived at the fishmonger's. She told him that things couldn't be worse. Now you've got chickens running all over the place. They got feathers everywhere. The pig is doing who knows what. The rooster is that a mirror? The sheep is going nuts over here. We got laying eggs. That's gonna fall down. Oh, it's a mess. There's a chicken in the drawer. The fishmonger smiled and told her to take the cow into the house. Come on. Then things would get better. She dashed home, and this time the whole family shoved and tugged and finally got the cow into the house. They were amazed that there was still room for her, which only showed what a wise man that fishmonger was. The next day, the desperate woman returned to the fishmonger. She burst into tears. She told him that things couldn't be worse. What is the cow playing a harmonica? This is a ridiculous story. Chickens are up singing up there. We've got so many eggs. The pig is balancing an egg on its nose. The sheep is making butter or waffles or something. There's the goat. I don't even know what the goat is doing. Kids are running all over the place. It's a mess. It's an absolute mess. The fishmonger smiled broadly and told her that she should take all the animals out of the house. Then things would definitely get better. The woman ran all the way home. Now they herded all of the animals out of the house. The fishmonger had all the answers. He was clearly such a wise man. A few days later, the woman returned to the market to buy some fish. When the old fishmonger asked her how her family was, she told him that things couldn't be better. With all of the animals out, there was no quarreling, no fighting, and plenty of room for everyone. It was much better than before. After all, the fishmonger was such a wise man. Now, this story has a lot to do with an idea called perspective. Perspective means different ways of looking at something. For example, at the start of this story, the woman said that her life couldn't be worse. But as the story went on, the woman realized that, you know what, things actually can get worse. And each step of the way, things got a little bit worse and a little bit worse and a little bit worse. But you know what happened by the end of the story? At the very end of the story, everything was back to the way it was before. It took some time, it was a little bit uncomfortable for a while, but at the end of it, they had a real appreciation. The family was really able to enjoy the things they had because they knew that things were better. That's all the time we have for today in library. I'll see you again real soon and we'll read another story together. Till next time.